All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that almost everything you think you know about diet and exercise is probably based on a whole lot of wasted effort? Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body, isn't your typical fitness guide. Nope. Think of it more like a lab manual for your own body, designed for one thing and one thing only: getting fast, measurable results. The core idea here is really simple, but it's also kind of radical. Just forget about spending endless hours in the gym or trying to follow these crazy, complicated diets you can't stick with. The whole approach is built on this belief that tiny, focused experiments can create absolutely massive changes in your body, and fast. We're talking about precise surgical strikes, not long, grueling battles. This quote, right here, it captures the entire mindset shift. The goal is to stop blindly following what everyone else says and to start gathering your own data. You become the scientist, and your body is the experiment. You change one thing, you measure what happens, and you build a personalized system based on what actually works for you. It's that simple. So you're probably wondering, how is any of this even possible? Well, it all boils down to a few core principles that completely flip conventional wisdom on its head. It's all about doing less, but doing it with way more precision. The first, and honestly the most important principle, is what he calls the minimum effective dose, or MED. Think about it like this: boiling water. The MED to boil water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Pumping any more heat into it is just wasted energy. The water isn't going to get any more boiled. The exact same logic applies to your body. And the implication of that is just so powerful. More is not better. In fact, a lot of the time, doing more than the MED can actually be counterproductive. It leads to burnout, injury, you name it. The real key is finding that precise, tiny little stimulus you need to trigger a change, whether it's losing fat or gaining muscle, and then stopping. You do nothing more. This leads us right to the second core principle. Data is way more powerful than willpower. We all know motivation comes and goes, right? One day you're super fired up, the next you can't be bothered. But you know what? Numbers don't lie. When you track the right things, your progress becomes visible and objective, and that creates its own kind of motivation that's way more reliable. So what should you be tracking? Well, things like body fat percentage, total inches around your waist, your arms, or even something as simple as your push-up max. Just pick one or two key metrics. Seeing those numbers change, even just a little bit week after week, gives you that clear, unemotional feedback you need to know if your experiment is actually working. Okay, let's put these principles into practice. We'll look at one of the most common goals out there: losing fat. The slow carb diet is a perfect example of a really simple, rule-based experiment. These 5 rules are all about simplicity and making it repeatable. There's no calorie counting, no complicated meal prep. By just avoiding those white carbs, the stuff that spikes your insulin and tells your body to store fat, and eating from a simple rotation of meals with protein and legumes, you create a system that just works. And that cheat day, it's not just for your sanity. It actually helps keep your metabolism revved up. Now, once you have that baseline diet locked in and working, you can start to run some new experiments to speed things up. This is where you introduce one new variable at a time to see what gives you that extra little edge. So Ferriss looks into things like a very specific supplement stack he calls PAGG, or using things like brief cold showers to improve your insulin sensitivity and boost fat burning. But the most crucial part, and you really have to remember this, is you only test one tool at a time. That way you can measure the result and decide if you want to keep it in your system or not. But hey, this isn't just about losing fat. This same less is more experimental approach works for building muscle and even mastering new skills with, honestly, surprising speed. How much time do you think it takes to build significant muscle? An hour a day, 5 days a week? According to the book's Occam's Protocol, it's less than 30 minutes. A week. Yeah, you heard me right, per week. So how on earth is that possible? Well, instead of just doing what he calls mindless volume, just throwing weights around, the focus is on maximizing something called time under tension. This means doing just one set per major muscle group, but you take it to complete muscular failure, using a super slow 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down count. This takes all the momentum out of the lift and creates this incredibly intense growth stimulus in almost no time at all. And the same logic applies to skills. Instead of just trying harder and grinding it out, what if you could find one small technical change that just unlocks massive improvements in your performance? This swimming technique is the perfect example. Ferriss talks about how learning just one tiny change in how his arm entered the water allowed him to more than double his swimming efficiency. I mean, he went from taking over 25 strokes to swim a length of the pool down to just 11. It happened almost overnight. It's all about finding the one lever that gives you the biggest possible return. So, as you can probably see, all of these experiments, from diet to strength to skills, they're all building up to something much, much bigger than just changing your body. They are the key to unlocking a totally different, more powerful mindset. This is what Ferriss calls the Trojan horse effect. It's a brilliant idea. By running these small, successful experiments on your own body, you prove to yourself on a deep physical level that cause and effect is real. And that newfound confidence, that new analytical way of looking at problems, it starts to bleed into your work, your finances, pretty much every part of your life. Look, the most important thing is to just start. Pick one simple experiment, something easy like trying the slow carb diet. Choose one single metric to track, like your waist measurement, and then just run the test for 2 weeks. That's it. See what the data tells you. It's a super low risk, high reward way to get going. And that really is the ultimate takeaway from this entire approach. It's not about finding the one perfect magic answer. It's about learning how to ask better questions and then test them for yourself. So the only real question left is, what one change will you test first?